off the pace, Goldie. What's going on?
We'll get to that.
Oh dear, oh dear. JK, there was a lot of excitement about heading over there. Did it live up to the hype, do you think?
Well, what about those Highlanders? Hey, that's about as excited as I got.
They only play in front of big crowds, and there was no crowds there. So I tell you what, I'm disappointed about that. You know, the fact that there was supposed to be a super round. There was supposed to be big crowds. The upper tier was empty. I'm assuming they tried to sell tickets for it. Look, I went into this weekend excited, looking forward to the contest. I thought there was a lot of penalties. I thought there was a lot of scrums. Once again, we had ill discipline. I'm hoping it's going to improve between all of these sides going forward. I did enjoy the Fiji and Drua. The way that they played the enterprise, they took on the Blues head on. They weren't good enough to get a win, but they were the one, for me, highlight out of the weekend in terms of the fact they are there, they were there to compete, and they were there to do the best they could, Batesy. And it wasn't quite enough. Blues, though, showed the signs of a really, really good team.
I'll just say on there, I think, like, as a showpiece for a super round, I think even if you've got to give away tickets, you know, and this is a showpiece, and the stands had to be full. You know, they're trying to make a mark, they're trying to make an imprint, and you look at the cameras, and I was at home, the wife goes, oh, there's a good crowd, and the cameras pan out, and then you see the top tier. Yep. So even if they had to give away tickets, I think they had to say, we are here, this is a super round, look how many people want to come watch a game.
It's clear right now the Highlanders aren't a contender to win a title. We should be starting focus on the teams that can push on to win this competition. And we will start seeing that now. We'll start seeing with these Trans-Tasman games. Look, there are a number of games in this, though, where you're sitting here going, the Reds, the Hurricanes are, arguably our fourth best team. They've upset and dominated the Reds for the last 40 minutes. That's got to be concerning if you're a Reds fan. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And once again, we suffered from what? We had a weekend with cards. We had a weekend littered with penalties. I'm getting frustrated right now because in the end, I'm not seeing any changes of behaviours from the players because they are the ones that are responsible. And we are quite often putting it on the referees. We're putting the challenge on them. But how about the players making some concessions? And we're not seeing changes in behaviour. Are we just supposed to get used to it? Now, the fact we're supposed to see cards every week.
Yeah, but what do we... This is... I don't disagree with you, but I think it's a combination. And I'll go back to a couple of weeks ago. Really good game. Crusaders Blues. Everyone was involved. Intense. Referee was involved. I think it's a combination. But what do we need to do then? Do we need to start finding players? How are we going to have change? Because we are continuing to let our game fall into this. I mean, you've just got to plan for it, like you said. So what are we supposed to do? You're
coaching in this environment. You're working in and around the Blues. And I know these are high-pressure environments. These are high-pressure moments. Yeah. But when we're continuing to see the same mistakes and errors and yellow cards and red cards every week, is that not a sign the players aren't adjusting?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's all about tackle height. And you've got to remember that this has come in over the last couple of years around, and I'm not talking about tackles hitting the head and stuff, but as a general rule, we've always been told, tackle the legs, chop the legs, but all of a sudden, that creates too fast a ball. So all of a sudden, the tackle heights, the coaches want the tackle heights to come up, which comes closer to the head, and quite often it's the second man in. So if the first man in that makes contact, his tackle height is high, the other guy that's coming in to get double shoulders, he's got a target zone of about that big, and they're slipping up time and time again. That there's lazy. That one there, that's just lazy. And I personally don't think that is as bad as one that goes shoulder straight to the head.
So why should we be worried if there's fast ball?
Because, as he just said, it's a high-pressure environment. Your job's to win. So, JK, if I'm playing you, I don't want you to have fast ball because you'll skin me on the edge.
Yeah, but if everyone's got fast ball, if everyone's the same, doesn't it just make it even? Yeah,
but it doesn't work like that. So I'm trying any advantage to get on top of you. So I want to slow down your ball, and that's a professional environment.
So it's being
coached. A high-pressure environment. Of course it is.
Hence why I say maybe we've just got to get used to it. I mean, the fact that players are prepared to lie on the ball, to do that second shoulder, like you say, the second tackle coming in, using their shoulder. I'll take the risk.
Don't worry about the fans. Don't worry about the fans, people.
Is that what fans want to see, though, do you think?
No, they're not. They haven't turned up to the Super Weekend. They're not turning up in general, so we've got to start looking at ourselves and say, well, why aren't the fans here? And I understand what you're saying, Batesy. I get that, mate. I get that. Right? I get it. But, I mean, if we've got a Super Weekend and no one's turned up, we've got crowd's not turning up, then the game needs to look at itself and say, this is not acceptable. Mums are looking at that on the weekend. Mothers are going, would I let my son play that?
Look, but I come to this, and Batesy, this I need to hear it from you. That are we just in a situation, in a cycle right now, where the defence is dominating the attack?
Yeah, it is.
And that's the cycle we have to live in unless they change the laws of the game.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, so hence my point. I've just got to get used to what I'm seeing right now. OK, that's the competition we are in. It's what the Highlanders have to prepare for. All the teams know the situation.
I'll also say, I suppose what you do when your team gets down to, and you look at the Waratahs who got down to 13 very early, all of a sudden you want to see fast ball, you want to see space, you want to see tries. Well, that's what you got.
Are the consequences not enough for players that they're going and making?
Particularly the foul play thing, I think, Laura. I mean, the foul play thing for me is it's a controllable situation where it is lazy. But the fact that they can then, once they've suspended for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it might be, you can go and live a normal life, and the fact that you get compensated to the full, whether you lose half your pay, whatever that might be, but you are endangering I think the reputation of the sport and the example you are setting for the fans across the world, across all of our rugby who watch it and go, oh, is that how I'm supposed to play?
I'll just say one other thing. I agree with you on that fact there. And you talk about the Super Round, and that's what we're in. OK, Caleb Clark was over there. He was doing promotional activities, you know what I mean? As a spectator, as a fan, as a broadcaster, or however you look at it, we've got to have our best players playing. Caleb Clark should have been playing this weekend. He's a fantastic player. If we're trying to create a showpiece, we need guys like him playing. But we can't because he's suspended. So is there a way in that he's suspended doing that, you know what I mean? He's back this weekend, but we need our best players playing. So if suspending them is not enough, do we look, as you've mentioned, into a monetary value? You know, because we need this. If we're trying to create a product, if we're trying to create a showcase, we need the best players playing.
In the NBA, if you get a technical foul, just a technical foul, it's $2 or $3 grand, just like that, immediately, $2 or $3 grand US. If you go do anything towards a referee, it's $25,000 to $30,000 US immediately. And I know for a fact that during Super Rugby this year, one of the players called one of the referees an idiot on the field during the game. Now, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable from our players to treat people like that and to hurt the spectacle.
It's really interesting because I often hear that we need to protect the players. So the players need to protect themselves. It's now up to them because I think the referees are trying to. I think leadership of the game is saying we need to look after the players. The only ones that aren't looking after each other is the players. So...
The idiot call would have got you fined in cricket. You would have lost half your match fee for that.
Just like immediately,
just
right?
Straight away,
wouldn't take,
no doubt about it.
A moment. We are so slow to move with the rest of the world in rugby. Everyone else is protecting their game.
How do you think the rugby players right now take that? If they said, right, there's going to be match penalties, you'll take some of your fees away if you are to behave like this. Would they go OK? Would they cop it sweet, or would they kick up a little bit about it?
They wouldn't enjoy the or even entertain the idea.
You'd have to ask Rob Nicol.
Yeah, there you go.
You ask the players. You know, you would. No, seriously, you'd ask the players.
You'd have to go and ask Rob Nicol
how they would feel about it. They would.
But I think the one point you've got to talk about is leadership that moves quickly to solve a problem. We don't get that in our game at the moment. There's a real issue going on in our game, and we're not getting that leadership from the players or from the NZR. So that's what we need to do.